All right. All right, we're about 4 minutes after, so we'll just jump right in. So thanks for coming to this little kind of mini info meeting, group interview for what we're calling JTS Properties. The purpose of this meeting is to, first of all, just give you a little bit of an overview of what we do. Kind of give you some introduction, and then we'll talk about the position. We'll talk about this short-term rental position that we're opening up, and we'll talk about what it entails, what it takes to do the job, stuff like that. Just give you a sense of whether it might be a fit for you. We'll talk about pay, and then we'll also talk about next steps, so you can get a clear set of steps to go ahead and get working with us if you want to do that. And then at the end, I'll answer questions. So if there's anything that I didn't clarify as I'm going through everything, you'll have a chance to get that clarity at the end as well. And then again, if you miss anything, I'll post a recording and make sure that you have access to it if you're actually in the roster of candidates. So, and I want to, it's probably a good idea to bring this up, because I know there's not a few of you at this point actually found us on our Facebook job posting. So if you did, we would have sent you an email and possibly a Facebook message, but you want to make sure, I'm going to share screen just so you could see this, because it's possible that you may not have actually filled out the form yet. And I want to make sure that, did I share the right screen? Probably not. Or maybe I did. Okay. I just want to make sure that you see. We would have sent you an email that probably looks something like this. And somewhere in that email, there will be a link to this form. So if you just click that link, it'll take you to this little team interest form. You have to fill this out in order to be eligible to get on the team. Now, you may not have filled it out yet, and we might have still been emailing you just because we got your email from Facebook. And so check your email, make sure that you click that link, or I think I even messaged most of those that were checking us out on Facebook to fill this out as well. So if and when you do fill this out, we'll have you in our roster of candidates, and then you'll get all the information, including like the replay from today and next steps to take. All that kind of detail will be sent to you via email, but we do need to be able to communicate with you via email. This is the easiest way to do it. This also gives us a basic start to the details about you as well. All right, so just a heads up on that first. Okay, so just give you a little introduction, and then we'll talk about the business that brings us together today, and then we'll talk about, like I said, the position and all the other details like I mentioned just a second ago. Let's get into it. So my name is Jeffrey Suey. I'm fellow Jacksonvillian here. I grew up here in Jacksonville at the beach. We live out in Bartram Springs now, off a racetrack in US 1. And my family has always been a real estate family. Those of you that know Watson Realty, which is kind of a local real estate company in town, she ran this region for over a decade. And my sister's an agent, and so early in the 2000s, about 20 years ago, I motivated my family. I was like the only one in the family that had nothing to do with real estate. I was actually in the personal growth industry, and I worked for a guy named Tony Robbins, who's well known as kind of a personal growth guru. And I was trying to motivate my family to get into investing in real estate. And so they started purchasing properties. And so we now have a little portfolio of properties here in Jacksonville. And since I've been getting involved in the last couple of years, we are starting to grow our unit count and expanding into short-term rentals. We've always done long-term rentals. Now we're getting into short-term rentals because it's really great ROI. So anyway, so I've seen some of the possibilities that are associated with being in the property game over the last 20 years. And now that I'm personally involved, I've got really great personal experience in the upside that's available. And I know that we have really great growth potential in the coming decade for a lot of reasons. The first one being that we have, anybody who knows, there's a lot of people coming to Florida right now. And so our real estate market is very hot, and the rental market is appreciating as a result of that. And so there's opportunity for great growth across a lot of different aspects of property ownership here. And so I think we're well positioned to take advantage of that. But one of the biggest challenges that I've seen over the last year or so, after being involved with this with our family and my own properties, is that there's a lot to do. There's a lot of work to do. When we purchase property, we've got to improve the property. We've got to clean it up. We've got to fix it up. We've got to make sure that it's ready to rent. If it's a short-term rental, we got to furnish the property. We got to really make it nice. And so, I find myself on my days off over at a property, digging ditches and planting, doing landscaping and all sorts of other property improvements, where I probably shouldn't be spending my time there as the investor, but it's perfectly good place to start. And so our biggest limitation is not financing or capital. Our biggest limitation is not the opportunities that are in this area. Our biggest limitation is that there's so much work to be done on every single opportunity that we find, every single home or apartment building that we purchase and that we run. There's a lot to do to get it ready to monetize, and there's also a lot to do to manage it ongoingly once it's in a good spot and we've fixed it up. So both those things take quite a bit of our time. So we would love to expand what we do to even more units, even more properties throughout the Jacksonville area, because we know we can get financing for doing it because of our experience, and the availability of capital is actually pretty easy for us to tap into. What's not easy is the kind of time involved, like I said. And so that's really where you come in, is to help to alleviate some of the hours that I'm spending, my family's spending, and some of our other team members are spending right now. Take that off of our hands so we really have enough time and energy and availability to get the next property to expand, which actually gives you more work and expands the opportunity for you and us as well. So that's really the vision for why we need you and why you're so important for our growth here, is that we know our growth is based on what you can bring to the table, what you could do together with us and what we provide. So I kind of see our role as, bringing the money and the resources and the owned assets, if you will, the facilities and the means of production to the table, and then you bring the sweat and the hard work, and with that combination, we really can be an unstoppable force. And so that said, I'm going to share with you, now that I've kind of gone on a bit of a tangent there, a little bit of the vision and the mission of what I'm calling JTS Properties as well. So the vision of this business, and think of the vision as like what we want to see happen long term. It's not necessarily something that we're experiencing today, or that we've accomplished quite yet, but that we would love to see as kind of our perfect day 10 years in the future, let's say. And so the vision for JTS Properties, as it stands at least, is to run a portfolio of properties, single family homes, apartment buildings, and the like, using long-term and short-term rentals to support ourselves and our families, build wealth, improve our lifestyles, and achieve financial freedom ultimately. And that's something I include you in terms of that vision. There's really opportunities here just to get a few hours of work in and make some money, and that's fine if that's all you're looking for and that's all that is in your vision. We're happy to encapsulate that vision in what we're talking about here. But if you have a vision for any of those things I just mentioned as well, achieving a certain amount of wealth and financial freedom, there are levels of contribution that you can make in this team eventually, where you're included in that aspect, not just getting some income, but actually generating a level of wealth that real estate can provide as well. And I know that if we bring you along with us, that we just accelerate our growth, and that it just makes for a better lifestyle. I know a lot of people in real estate over the years. Like I said, my family's in real estate, and I've in my other business where we train and coach people for decades, we've worked with real estate professionals, and one of the biggest problems we see is that not that they can't make money, but that they're all alone, and they kind of try to hold on to all the income that they generate themselves, but that makes it so they got to do all the work, and it makes for kind of a tough lifestyle for some of those professionals. And that is not my vision for our group here, is that we just constantly work and don't ever have time off to enjoy what we've accomplished here. So that's the vision for JTS Properties. Now, we also have a mission that I've put together here. And think of the mission as the thing that we do day to day, that we, this is like the day-to-day work. Like when we get up in the morning, what is our mission? And the mission is to create a first-class rental experience for our guests and residents. We really want this to be first class for them. We want them to love where they live if they're in a long-term rental, to enjoy their vacation or their visit if they're a guest at a short-term rental, and for it to be first class, along with developing and improving our portfolio of homes, apartments, and other assets. So we really have two big jobs here, is acquire and develop physical assets, right? Real estate assets. And because that asset is worth a goodly amount of money, and we want to make it as beautiful and as nice and as safe and as appropriate for whatever it's being used for as possible, which makes it so that if eventually we want to actually sell an asset, which is not really the vision. I mean, we want to acquire and have our portfolio grow, but sometimes there's times when it makes sense to let go of some assets. And if and when we do that, we want those assets to be, the most attractive for whoever we sell it to as humanly possible. And that's a really great way to make money in this business as well, of course. But primarily, beyond just developing the asset and making it really amazing, which you could be a part of, obviously we need your help with that to some extent as well, is making it so that our customers, basically guests and residents, that they're really happy with what they're experiencing, and so that it's worth what they pay us to spend time in our properties, and we're there to serve them so that we have a really great professional relationship between us and them as well. So that's the mission of JTS Properties, and that'll be something from day one, if you start working with us, that you're going to be a part of, creating that first class rental experience for guests and residents, developing, improving our portfolio, and managing that in different ways. So hope that makes sense. And I'm going to share a little bit of the vision for your position beyond what I just mentioned, and I'm going to give you details as well. So For the Airbnb assistant or the rental assistant position, this is what it entails and what the vision is. Now, like I said just a second ago, we need your help. We're quite busy with what we're doing to develop our properties right now. I'll just give you a little bit of an overview. We have almost 20 units here in Jacksonville. We have single family homes. I think we have like 4 of those. And then we also have apartment buildings. We've got 3 or 4 of those as well. And we even have a single condo unit in a condominium complex as well. And within these, 17, 18, 19 units, I think we're at almost 20 now. We have obviously people living in some of these units, and then we're developing 2 of these units currently, one downtown Springfield, and the other one is in the Ortega, I think it's in Ortega area, single units within larger buildings for short-term rental. And right now, as we speak, we are improving those units, furnishing those units, getting them ready, getting them upgraded and safe. I was on the phone yesterday for almost an hour with contractors to improve a back deck to make it safe for short-term rental guests to come in and out and make sure that we don't have any liability exposure. There's all sorts of work that we're doing right now on those 2 units to get them ready for short-term rental. We traditionally have been long-term rental owners, but we just know there's huge opportunities in short-term rentals that can accelerate our growth and also accelerate the growth of a position that you may grow into as well. So that's what we're up to. And so day to day, we need to follow up on getting our rent. We need to follow up on raising our rents also, which is happening on a regular basis nowadays, if you haven't noticed the rental market. We need to manage that process. We need to make sure that when there's a problem with a unit, like there's stopped up toilet, drain that's clogged, air conditioning is down, roof is leaking, whatever, that we've got contractors going out there and taking care of that, and that we are on top of that. One of the things that you've learned in with rentals and really just owning any property very quickly is that sometimes when you hire a contractor to do a job, they don't do a great job. They don't, not that they don't know what they're doing, but they make bad decisions in how they approach a particular repair or something. And so it's good for us to be on top of what these guys are doing and kind of having our heads in the game and making sure that we are keeping an eye on and supervising their work because it's our stuff that's at stake. I mean, they could screw up and we still got to pay them, and then we have to live with the problem they created, right? So we got to track those maintenance requests and those work orders as well. And we do that on software. We do that via the phone, and we do that sometimes on site as well. And then, of course, there's development work that we're doing. We're regularly setting up better tracking and systems to keep an eye on our rentals. And of course, like I said, we're furnishing and improving a couple units for short-term rental as well, and setting that system up as well. So some of this is new and it's in development for us, and some of this is old and we've been doing it for decades now. But you could be involved in any of that because it's time consuming, and we only have so many hours in the day ourselves. I run a full-time business outside of JTS Properties, and the family member that owns a big part of these properties, they're retired, and they're busy in their retirement as well, and we don't want to overwhelm them in their elder years for what we want to be keeping track of and taking care of for them ultimately. So we're doing some property management here. We're doing some short-term rental management, and then we're doing some think of it as real estate development as well. And you could have your hand in any and all of those types of tasks. So what does that entail? Now, we talked about the vision for that position. And by the way, speaking of just one more piece on the vision before I move on, and I mentioned this kind of in theory before, but if you do a great job with those kind of things that we're talking about here, there's going to be, I will be freed up so I can put my focus on acquiring more properties and turning more of our long-term rentals into short-term rentals, if that continues to be a really great opportunity for us. Because we can find the money, we can find the financing, the capital to expand. And the real challenge is, like I said, time and focus for me and for the management team. So, if you're really taking that off our hands and we have more time and focus available, then we're gonna grow, and that'll just give more for you to do, number one. But number two, also, as we grow and as you really learn our systems and can make bigger contributions to what we're doing, we will probably find other team members that you ultimately can guide and support and manage. And then you kind of move up the ladder, so to speak, in this business. And I'm totally open to profit sharing and other ways that you can expand your wealth as you contribute in a more valuable way to us. And that doesn't mean that's what this job has to entail, but there is a future here as you grow and as you get better and as you do an even better job and as you can do even more irreplaceable and priceless things within the team that we have. Then of course you're going to get paid better, and you're going to have more of an ownership over what we do here together as well. And I love to see when that happens. It doesn't always happen. Not everybody's cut out for that, and you don't have to be, but there is opportunity in that, especially in this team and in this industry, which is tremendously profitable as well. So now let's talk about specifically what you would be doing from day one. So in that rental assistant position, you'd be responsible for servicing our rentals. So servicing can mean a lot of things, talking to tenants, taking work orders from them and things that they need, communicating between us and the tenants. Like, for instance, right now we have a resident that's moving out. So Kim, who you may have interviewed with or you may be talking to soon, Kim is talking to them on a regular basis about getting the keys back and working on getting their deposit back, and working with them on dealing with lease issues. And we need to walk through the unit to make sure that they left it in decent shape, and we have a report and a system for that. So there's all different steps that are involved in people moving in, people moving out, and then people just living there. And then as well with short-term rentals, there's hospitality, because we're basically a hotel at the end of the day. So people might call and say, hey, I need soap, or I need toilet paper or something. And it's like, okay, I got to go over there and deliver service to these individuals pretty quickly so that they have a great experience. And we get great reviews on Airbnb or any other rental short-term housing platform that we're on. So that's what servicing our rentals means. And I'm just going to give you an example of, while we're talking about this, we systemize everything that we do. We really want to make it so that working here is as easy as working at McDonald's ultimately. That doesn't mean it's always that easy, and it doesn't mean that that's the end of the position here. But we want to try to make it a really good experience for everybody that's on the team. So I'll give an example. So everything that we do inside of our Google document system. And so we have different organization for our property management business. So we have our Airbnb systems here that we're building out. And then we have our, when we charge for our property management, we have a folder for that. Then we have this entire maintenance system and tracking with different spreadsheets that you could use. We've got all our information on our properties here. So like in any property, you can go into, the spreadsheet for that property, and we know who our tenants are. We know where it's located. We have an annual maintenance tracker where we know what's going on with that. All sorts of different ways that we keep track of what we're doing here. And then finally, we've got our tenant management and relations. And so this is where we've been working the last year to really fill out procedures and approaches to make sure everything is done well. So there's two different documents that you'll be working with in here. The first one is you'll get what I call SOPs, or standard operating procedure. And standard operating procedure is basically, think of it as like a manual or a guide to how to do the job, right? So, and we train you, and we start you off with things that are pretty obviously easy to do, and it's pretty logical. But sometimes there's things that we want you to do it a certain way, or you might need some help in terms of how to do something as well. So we put it together, standard operating procedures, or little checklists and workbooks and explanations, kind of instructions, an instruction manual for how to do things. So for instance, this is how we manage tenants, and this is an SOP. We put it together last year. And so we have this entire guide on increasing rent, and how we plan increases, and how we increase the rent, and how we communicate that. We email and text our tenant and let them know. We go through responses. We have a whole host of different items that we do, and we have an outline for how it's done. So you could literally just read this even without talking to me, and you'll kind of know how to do what we do, right? Now, we also have a different form of document, which I call a checklist. This is more of just instruction manual. The checklist, let's see if I can find it. I had it up a second. Here we go. The checklist, think of the checklist like it's literally what we just said. It's a checklist. It's a set of steps that while you're doing a particular job, you got to check off that you did certain things. And what that helps with is, first of all, it helps you remember what to do. Think of it like a pre-flight checklist. Like if you are about to fly a plane, you don't want to be taking off and all of a sudden realize you forgot to get gas. You forgot to check the engine. You forgot to make sure that there's wings on the plane. I don't know what they do with the pre-flight checklist, but when you're taking off, you don't want to be all of a sudden having forgotten to do all the things you need to do before you fly a plane, right? If I do that, I'm going to crash my plane. I'm dead, right? Chances are, eventually, I might get lucky a couple times, but eventually I'm going to miss something, and all of a sudden I really screwed up. Hospitals use checklists on a regular basis. You go to a hospital, something's wrong, and they're going to have to do surgery. They're going to have to administer drugs. They're going to have to give you an X-ray. This is dangerous stuff, right? And somebody's life is at stake. So they make sure that with every little stupid thing that they do in that hospital, especially really critical tasks that are life-threatening or life depends on it, they have every single step itemized in a checklist that they follow to make sure that they take care of exactly what they need. And we want to treat our work that we do here with our properties and our income and our livelihood and our financial freedom and our future. We want to treat it like it's life and death. It might not be life and death, right? But we want to treat it that way because we really want to do well, right? We want to achieve our goals. We want to have a great life. So, and we know this is one of the keys to it, right? So we make sure that we have checklists just like we would when we're about to fly a plane, just like we would want to when we're about to do surgery, except in this case, it's around getting rent or onboarding a new tenant or a tenant moving out or somebody checking into an Airbnb, short-term rental. We make sure that every detail is handled, and we don't want to have to remember every detail when we're doing our job, right? We want to be able to do it in our sleep practically, right? So these checklists really help us with that. So I'll give you an example. This is our rent increase checklist. So we have every single tenant listed here and their contact information and the property they are located in. And then we note their current rent, the rent we're gonna raise it to, and then the month they're going to increase their rent. And then we move on to all the checklist items that we've got to do. So our current rental assistant, Kim, who you're going to be taking over for to some extent, so Kim can do other things. She's checking off all these items that need to happen. I mean, it's like 10 different things that have to happen just to increase somebody's rent, you know? And so each of these items, we put dates in as to when they were done, or we put an X to check off that it was completed. And a lot of these items, we have very specific guides and emails that we send, and everything is like templated. So it's copy and paste, and it's pretty self-explanatory. So between like the instruction manual and our templates and checklists, and I've got video trainings on everything that we do. So for instance, like if you're doing rent increases, like we were talking about, you watch a video training on that. So I don't necessarily have to meet with you on this initially, although I probably supervise. You watch this video. And this is a video of taking you through the checklist and the SOP and everything and how it's done. So we've really got training already available to you. We've got checklists and instruction manuals already available to you. And you can kind of hit the ground running on day one. It's kind of like first day of work at McDonald's. It's like, oh, I just press these buttons. I follow a few simple instructions, and I'm kind of actually already doing my job. Now obviously it'll get better than that. And eventually this will be like second nature to you to do this stuff, but you still check the checklist to make sure you don't miss stuff. And also part of the reason for these checklists, these are all virtual now. They're on the cloud, they're on the internet. So I can supervise and check off, hey, did you do your job? Like, did you actually download the response letter for the rent increase? Is it saved? Did they pay the higher rent that we need? Like, is everything done? Right. And so we'll meet on this kind of stuff on a regular basis, every month, every week, whatever, to see how things are going. And so it gives us a chance to manage and supervise, make sure everything's going well, and then also supports you in remembering how to do the job for that matter, because there's a lot of different stuff to do, obviously. So that's just a little bit of an example of how we use the Google Suite to kind of guide our activities and support the work that you do and that we do, and make sure that we're doing a good job for people and that we're on our way to the next level of success as well. So anyway, coming back to what the rental assistant position entails, like we said, servicing our rentals, restocking rentals. Sometimes we need to provide supplies and things like that. Now, a lot of times the cleaning crews will do that, but you may be supervising them, checking off and making sure that they did their job. There might be things that, like for instance, if we have a short-term rental that's got a closet full of toilet paper and soap and all sorts of different things, what happens when we run out? Cleaning crew says we ran out. You got to go pick that stuff up and deliver it to the rental, right? So you got to get a key. You got to go shopping. You got to find the right stuff. You got to bring it there. You got to get into the rental, put it in the right place, make sure everything's in good shape. Maybe document, take a picture or two, check off some checklist items, and then you're out of there, right? So there's a lot of little steps involved in just that one simple thing, and it takes time, right? So I shouldn't be focusing on that at this point. I should be focusing on growing the business. And so if you could do that, I could do what I do, and then we can grow together. So purchasing needed supplies, we just talked about that. Checking in on our rentals as well, making sure that everything's going well, communicating with the team on logistics. So there's all sorts of different little steps that happen. Like somebody needs to get a check to us, and we need to check that check has arrived, or we need to pick up a key or make a copy of a key. Maybe there is contracting work and we have a plumber that's showing up to a vacant unit. You got to go meet the plumber, make sure they're doing their job, make sure they can get in. There's all sorts of little things like that that need to happen, that there's communication around. You're obviously on site doing work, but also Kim and myself, we're going to want to know that everything's going well. And so we're in communication via phone and text and checklist and email and stuff like that. helping with the development and improvement on our properties. You could join me this weekend to help with the landscaping of the backyard in one of our short-term rentals, right? So, there's all sorts of different simple work that could be involved, as a team together with what we're doing here, or just you on your own, autonomously, just doing something in any particular day. So let's see, we talked about development and improvement on our properties. We're always repainting and replacing carpet and doing landscaping and replacing appliances and measuring for furniture, and just so many different things that we do to just make our properties like acceptable, if not really beautiful and nice. There's all sorts of different kind of handyman style stuff that we contract out, but there's a fine line between what we hire people to do, contractors do, and what we do ourselves, right? So the more that we can do ourselves, the more money we save on expensive contractors. And sometimes when a contractor does their job, like I said, we need to keep an eye on what they're doing and make sure it's what it needs to be. Sometimes a tenant helps us with that, but sometimes we got to do that ourselves. So we develop and improve our properties, and then finally documenting progress on projects as well. And I showed you a little bit of how that documentation gets handled just a second ago. Administrative, you probably at this level will not be doing a lot of administrative work. Kim and I are really the ones that are doing most of that right now. We'll be working with you on some basic administrative, but for the most part, most of the work you're doing is not going to be in front of a computer screen, looking at spreadsheets, checking off checklists. Now, eventually, as you continue to learn the position, as we expand, there might be more administrative that's needed. And so you might end up at a desk somewhere. And obviously, for the most part, this is a virtual position. So we don't have like offices that you have to be at or anything like that. You can do that work from home. But for today, mostly what you're doing is going to be at the property, traveling around from place to place, helping us on site, and some virtual work, maybe from your home, but probably 90% of it is going to be outside the home, somewhere around Jacksonville, doing a variety of different things, right? Having an adventure for the day. So that is what you're responsible for the most part. So is this a fit for you? That's the big question, is like, do you think this job is a fit? I'm going to give you a couple answers to that question to help you get a sense of as to whether or not this makes sense for you. So I think this job would be a fit for you if you feel comfortable with the kind of stuff we just talked about. If you're comfortable with that kind of stuff, you're probably a fit for the job in that way. This job is a fit for you if you got your own transportation. You got to have your own transportation. We don't drive you from place to place. You got to drive yourself or take an Uber or something. You're responsible for that. And you got to cover, as a contractor, you'd be a contractor with us, right? You're going to be 1099 member of the team. You got to take care of your own transportation, and we do not provide that for you. So that's your responsibility on your end. So if you've got that taken care of, this job could be a fit for you. If you can communicate via email, if you can communicate via text message, if you can communicate on the phone, if you can communicate via Zoom, great. That's about all the different ways you got to be able to communicate, right? Face to face, obviously, right? You're probably a good fit for this position. If you're reliable, like if we say, hey, can you do this tomorrow by noon, and you say, yes, I can do this one thing by tomorrow by noon, you actually do it. Human beings don't typically do everything that they promise, right? Like a lot of people say talk is cheap, like people say something, but it doesn't really happen. So it's actually pretty extraordinary for somebody just to do what they promise on a really consistent basis, like pretty much every time, right? And so if you're reliable, that's really what we need, and that's a really good fit for this position per se. If you're not, it's not a good fit for this position, because we have to be able to rely on you. And if we can't, you just can't do this job. And we probably wouldn't be working together for very long. So if you're reliable, you're a good fit for this position. If you can communicate in a positive way. So some people are really reliable, but as they are really reliable and they do their reliable job, they don't communicate to people in a way that feels good for the people that are getting those communications from them, right? They're always angry, or they yell at everybody. You know, I mean, there's a whole variety of ways that are not really positive communication, right? So you're going to be communicating with tenants and residents. You're going to be communicating with us and our team. You're going to be communicating with people that are a part, they're in our hotels, so to speak. And that's literally, they call that industry the hospitality industry, because we got to be hospitable, right? That's what makes that industry run, and what makes you competitive in that industry in a big way is that you're friendly with people, right? So if you can communicate in a positive way, then you're probably a good fit for this position. If you can't or don't generally do that, or you're not going to be consistent in communicating in a positive way, even when you're not having a good day yourself, then it's probably not going to go well in this position ongoingly, because we have to have good relationships, not just between us on the team. Like, we want to be happy working with you and have a good time and enjoy our relationship together. But we also want to make sure that when people are staying in our properties, like, they feel good about the communication that's happening between us. Now, that doesn't mean they're always, like, agreeing with what we decide, right? Sometimes our tenants disagree with how we do things. Not everybody who's a guest in a Airbnb is going to think that they like how we approach running things, right? Some people are really unreasonable, frankly, but we can at least be positive in the way that we talk to people, right? We can at least be friendly. We can at least not be hurtful, and we can avoid, like, really negative interactions most of the time. And even when a customer or a tenant or a guest is upset, which sometimes people, can just feel bad. That's human to do that. We can still really be positive with them, and we can still treat them with respect, kindness, and appreciation for the fact that they're a customer of ours as well. And, there's ways to get better and better at that. And I'll support you and give you extra training on that kind of relationship management if you want it or if you need it. But I think from day one, you want to be able to communicate in a positive way, right? And that's not natural for everybody to do, but you need to be able to do that in this position. And then finally, if you can use Google, right? So now that means a lot of things. Now, I just showed you that we use Google Documents, Google Drive, Google Workspace, call it what you will. They used to call it G Suite. But, a lot of people use Gmail as their email provider. And then Gmail allows you to create documents and do spreadsheets online, all sorts of kind of stuff in the cloud. And we have a virtual business, so we do everything using Google, basically, in our business for administrative. So you need to be able to use Google Suite. We will show you how. It's not that complicated. You just need to have an account. Probably get a Gmail is the easiest way to do it. And then, you could do that. You could use Google G Suite and Google Docs via smartphones nowadays. But you could also do this on a full-size computer using your browser as well. It's pretty user-friendly and easy to use. Not everybody's really great at it, but you need to be able to use those things because you're going to be using our checklists and our documentation for guiding you on how to do the job, templates, copy and paste stuff like that. So you need to be able to use that to a limited extent. In this position, it's not going to be a lot. It's going to be like maybe 3% of your job, right? But it's still an important 3%, or else we can't probably work together. And you can learn it, like I said, over time. Documents, spreadsheets, Drive, saving pictures and things in that system. It's all doable via mobile nowadays, but you can use a browser for it as well. And then finally, another way of using Google that you need to be able to use is literally just Googling stuff, right? Like if you're not sure about how to like use a lockbox or how to um, change a lock or how to plant flowers in a planter, and that's your job today, you might need to Google that, right? So there's a lot of things that we will teach you, that we will train you in, that we will show you how we do things already. But sometimes, I mean, we're in a fast moving business. We're in a business where there's like hundreds of different things that we need to be able to do. You're not necessarily going to know how to do every single thing that we ask you to do right from the beginning. So you need to be able to go on Google and search for, how do I water an azalea, like we are doing in one of our rental properties right now, and so there's going to be different things that they're pretty easy and probably simple to do, but Google has documentation on how to do it. There's probably a video on it nowadays with all the information available. And we expect to show you how to do the complicated things, the tricky things, the things that are really tough and that are maybe we want you to do it a certain way. But the simple stuff, you should be able to figure it out or Google it and guide yourself in learning something, even if you don't know it today, which I'll tell you a secret. It's like, when I started doing a lot of the work to, like, we repaved our steps and we're redoing our deck and we installed a fence in the backyard and then we're doing landscaping and then we're putting lighting up. I didn't know how to do any of that stuff. I'd owned a home, but I was not the one that took care of that place and maintained it. Right. So I was not very handy when it came to, and I still am not, frankly, very handy around the house for different things. But I know how to use Google, and I can spend time researching things and figuring out what the best product is for something and what the best approach is, and I can figure it out over time. So to some extent, you need to be able to do that at a different level, let's say, than what I'm going to do, and then ultimately long term, if you want to continue to grow with us, you want to get better and better at that, because there's all sorts of different kind of practical tasks that take a little bit of learning to do it well and do it effectively, so that we're doing a good job and we're successful as well. So this job is a fit for you if you're comfortable with the kind of tasks we talked about, if you got your transportation taken care of, if you're willing to be responsible for that, if you can communicate via email, text, phone, Zoom, if you're reliable, if you can communicate positively, and then if you can use Google and Google Suite in a variety of ways. So I'm just going to check for questions right now, because we've covered a lot of ground. And then we're going to talk about pay, and we're going to talk about getting the job. So, somebody just said they had to leave. Okay, not a big deal. I just checked the replay if you have to leave, because I'm going to tell you in just the next couple of minutes what the pay is, how that works, and then also how to get the job as well. So pretty important information. And I'm going to email you the stuff as well. So as long as you check your email, you should be in good shape. But you can always watch the replay. All right. Any other questions so far?
No questions for me.
Great.
Sounds good.
All right. I don't see anything else in the. Okay. I don't see anything else in the chat. Let's keep going. All right. Let's talk pay. So here's and we'll talk about this in two different ways. Let's talk about what happens before you start getting paid. And then we'll talk about, how you get paid and what you're paid, and then how to stick around as well for the long term in this position. So number one, before you start getting paid, there's a couple things that you need to do. You're going to have a short interview with Kim. It's probably 10 minutes. Okay. It's not going to take a lot of time. But that's the first step you're going to need to take. And Kim may have already reached out to you to do that interview. If not, feel free to be proactive with her and follow up with her. I'm going to chat you her contact information right now. I'll put it in the chat, and then I'll bring it up later. We'll come back to that as well, but feel free to just take that down. I'm going to give you her real estate email. I just gave you her other email, which I shouldn't have done, but it's fine. I mean, you can email her there too. I'm going to give you the better email for her. She just divides up what she does for our training company with what we do in our real estate company. So here is, just use that email for real estate stuff for this job. All right. Where was I on? Okay. So you want to do your interview with Kim. She'll ask you a few questions, just get to know you a little bit, and then you're done. It'll be really super simple and easy. Next, the next step in the process, if you pass the interview, which you may not, I mean, Kim has done quite a few interviews with individuals that she said, this is not a fit, right? And so if you are a fit, based upon what Kim feels, and that what we agree on based upon her feedback with the interview, then I'm gonna email you what I call a psychographic profile. It's called a psychographic profile. And there is a link that you'll need to click on that, and you'll need to take a little test. It's pretty simple and easy to take. It'll take you about 15 minutes or so. And that is not a test for English, math, history, science. It's not any of the stuff you learned in school, okay? It's a test for what motivates you, and it's a test for how you tend to communicate and behave. And a lot of the stuff we do in this business is not something that you learned in high school. Most of what we do here doesn't necessarily take tremendous schooling per se, but what it does take is it takes a certain level of reliability, taking action, being detailed enough to know what's going on, being motivated enough in certain ways, and having decent communication, right? So we want to get a sense of what is your approach for those things. And whatever you tell us is probably okay in that test. It's not about it's not like something you pass or fail, but we want to know who we're working with here. We want to know how you tend to get things done, how you communicate, and what you care about. So we can get a sense of what the fit might be between us and how we can actually best work with you as well. So that's a psychographic profile. I'm going to show you what that email looks like. I'm going to share it on my screen right now. And you will need to get this in your email because we don't text it or anything like that. So here's what the email looks like. It'll just say, your new job on the property team, 2-point profile to take. And it'll say something like, hey, you had a good interview with Kim. Here's the next step. It'll give you some instructions. You'll need to follow the instructions, right? This is also, by the way, a great test for if you can follow instructions as well, which you'd be surprised on how few people can do that or will do that. So you just click this link here. It's going to open up a tab, or it'll go into your browser, and then you just follow the instructions. It's pretty simple and straightforward. Like I said, 10, 20 minutes, you'll be done. Okay, that's it. So that is the second step that you'll need to take. Once I get that profile back, and it'll automatically send it to me once you've completed the profile, and make sure that you follow every single instruction, click every single button, do everything that they ask, because if you don't, the profile won't get done. And it sometimes it can be a little tricky, like knowing when you're done taking that test, because there's a couple steps to take. And you got to make sure you click I'm done. There's little things like that. But if you make sure you're real detailed about it, you should get it done. We have hundreds of people that have taken this over the years, and almost 99% of everybody just gets it done the first time, no problem. If you have trouble with it, or if you're not sure you got your profile complete, let us know. Just reach out. Just be in communication. Right. And then we'll let you know if there's a problem or if we didn't get the completed results. So that's the second step. After you interview with Kim, take that psychographic profile. Once that's complete, if there's anything else I need from you, I'll let you know. Hopefully you'll have your resume by that time, and we've already got some information from you. But based on that information, I will make a decision as to whether or not it makes sense to continue. And if it does, I'm going to meet with you and probably just, like 20-minute interview, something brief. I'll probably ask you a few questions. We'll talk, get to know each other a little bit, and make sure it's a fit. But once we talk and we have a chance to meet, and that goes well, and it makes sense that, this is still a fit, then we're going to put you to work. We'll just get a 1099 from you, or a W-9, I guess they call it, and get you to fill that out so we can pay you. And then we'll start giving you work to do, like probably from day one, basically. Now, I think this is already listed. It's not in my notes for some reason, but generally speaking, the hours that are available right now for you should be around 5 to 10 hours per week. Okay. Now, that's going to be something that over the coming month or two will ramp up. So like the first week you work, you might have no work, right? Or you might have just 2 or 3 hours of work, right? It might not be a lot of work right up front because you're going to be growing into the position, right? And we actually need to do work to give you things to do, right? So it takes a little bit of time for us to put things on your plate, but we'll do it as quickly as we can. And over the next 30 to 60 days or so, you should be hovering around 5 to 10 hours a week or so. Some weeks you might do 11 hours, and other weeks you might do like 1 hour, right? So it can vary radically depending on what's going on that week, right? So it'll ebb and flow, but the average should be somewhere hovering around 5 to 10 hours. So you might be averaging about 5, might be averaging about 10, kind of depends on what's going on within the business. So the pay, as you probably already know, is $14 an hour. That's where it starts. And depending on how you do, there's going to be opportunities for increases in the pay as well. But that's where you'll be starting, at least for a while, in the initial months that you're working with us, is $14 an hour. You need to keep track of your hours. Let us know how many hours you worked. And if it looks like it's realistic, obviously we'll be in good shape, and then we'll just pay you. You basically invoice us for your hours. It's not complicated. And then we cut you checks. Let's see. So we talked a little bit about what it looks like to start doing the work, what happens before you start getting paid, and then what you're paid as well. One other thing, when you begin working with us, there's 2 things I want you to know. Number one is I want to give everybody who's a good fit for this, a potential good fit for this position, a chance to show what they can do. Okay. So you may actually, if you actually step into the position, you may actually find that we have a couple others that are also, we're trying out as well. So that's another reason why there might not be, 10 hours a week right from the beginning. If you need to get 10 hours a week tomorrow, this may not be the position to do that with. Doesn't mean that we can't work with you. I'd love to still work with you, but you need, immediate work tomorrow. Depends on how many hours you really need to see if this is really a good fit for your main job. And you could also work other jobs and still do this as well. We've got several candidates that are looking at this as a kind of a side job to just increase their monthly income for the time being as well. But anyway, there's going to be potentially other individuals who are also stepping into that position. And so in the first month or so, I call this a probationary period, meaning that just because you got that job doesn't mean that you're going to keep the job. And we're going to be evaluating, hey, how are they doing? Are they doing a good job? Is this still a fit for us? Are you happy? Are we happy? It gives us a chance to see if we really want to work together long term. And if not, that's fine. It's totally okay. And we just maybe somehow we made a mistake as to the fit, and we'll just move on and part friends. And that'll probably happen with other people that that are taking on the position. So over the first couple months, you'll get more hours. Number one, because we're just, spending time making sure that you have more to do. But number two, because there will be less people doing that same job, and we won't be dividing the hours between you and maybe somebody else as well. So we're going to thin the herd a little bit over the first month or so, chances are. But we want to employ as many good team members as possible that we could possibly need. And your performance level, how you do, will dictate whether or not you continue with us at all, right? How much work you get, and then how far you go long term, of course, as well. So pretty simple and straightforward, right? Just like in any job, right? I mean, they don't always say that, but that's the truth of it, is like you can go as far as you really want to. And just because you're starting from like the bottom, it's like you're at the first rung of the ladder right now, doesn't mean that you aren't going to end up at the top, right? It just takes time, patience, work, reliability, a good head on your shoulders, and all the things that we talked about, and maybe then some as well. So you gain promotions as we grow and as you show that you're growing with the opportunity. That's it. Those are the details on what happens before you start getting paid, how you start getting paid, what you're paid, and the probationary period and what happens after that as well. So I'm just going to share with you the next step. And if there's any other questions, I'll answer them, and then we'll get out of here. So next step is, as we just talked about a second ago, reach out to Kim if you haven't done an interview with her already, and make sure that you get 10 minutes of her time. Her number is 904-201-9302. I'll say it again, just in case anybody that's on the phone or doesn't have access to the chat. 904-201-9302. Any of the emails that I send you or that Kim sends you should have her number on the bottom of that email anyway. So there's that. And then also you could just email her. And the email I'm going to ask you to use is kwelch1324@gmail.com. And so I'm going to spell that out for you just in case you don't have access to the chat. KWELCH. KWELCH. That's just K Welch. Kim stands for Kim Welch. 1324. No spaces in that, just all one big conglomeration of symbols. KWELCH 1324@gmail.com. So reach out to her one or both of those ways. You may need to be proactive. She's just about to leave town in a week, and she's got a lot of work on her plate. She'll probably be working 50, 60 hours or more this week. So if you're proactive with her, though, she will go ahead and schedule an interview with you. And if she's not getting back to you, just let me know, and you can get in touch with me at my Gmail. I'm just going to paste that in the chat. It's jeffreytsui@gmail.com. And that's spelled JEFFREY, T as in Tom, S as in Sam, OOEY. It's JEFFREY, TSOOEY. It's just my name at gmail.com. And you can also talk to me on my cell. This is the best way to text me. If you call, I will probably not pick up, but you can definitely text me at that number and let me know, who you are and what's going on, and I'll respond probably pretty quickly. And that number is 619-920-2015. That's 619-920-2015. That's the way to text or call me. Best way to communicate is email or text, though. And again, I'll be the one sending you the assessment. So if you've already passed the interview with Kim and you're trying to figure out where's the assessment, when is it coming, or how do I get the assessment, it'll come from that email, from my email, jeffreytsu@gmail.com. So if you search your email for any email from that email, you'll see the assessment if you've passed that first interview, basically. So it's pretty straightforward, but you got to make sure you take that assessment, like I said, because that's the second step. Once you've done that, just follow up with me, and I will do that final interview, and then we'll get you going and get you some work as well. So those are the next steps to take, and those are how to take those next steps. if there are any questions about anything, if not like just anything else that we've covered, feel free to ask now, and then we're out of here. Any final questions before we go?
I have no questions, but I saw someone put a question on the chat and they left. So it might be good to answer
yeah,
that.
yep, I see that. How many rental assistants are you hiring? Yeah, so I mean, we're not going to hire more than like 3. But like I said, we really have the hours for one at 5 to 10 hours a week or so. So, you know, it's likely that even if we hire more than one, which I'm not saying we will, I mean, there might be only one in this group that really is hireable, if not 0. I mean, it could be nobody, and then we'll just have to go fish. But if we hire more than one, we'll probably end up with one at the end of all of it, ultimately. But bottom line is, you know, we're open to hiring more than one because we just don't know. We don't know how well it'll go until we know, you know. So that's just the easy way to figure out without doing any kind of fancy screening other than what we already do. So hopefully that answers that, and I'll send the replay if they are going to miss it. All right. So that said, I'll let y'all go, and hopefully we'll be working together soon, and I'll talk to you soon.
All righty, Jeffrey, I'd just like to say one thing. Thank you so much for your time.
No problem.
And everything sounds great, and we'll be in touch. I look forward to talking to you.
All right. Have a good one.
Afternoon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.